Okay.
And okay, well, I'll kick off if that's okay, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gordon Buchan. I'm Sector Director for Energy at Pell Frishman Consultants Limited. Um, I'm a chartered engineer. I've got 30 years experience in transport planning, and most of that's been on energy projects across the UK, across Ireland, both sides of the border, Scandinavia and the Baltics. And I've been working on the Southbrook Solar Farm, and I've attended the initial stakeholder engagement on transport matters to date, and will also be attending the forthcoming consultation events being held on Friday and Saturday in the area. So if you have any further questions you'd like to ask in person, more than happy to either try and answer what I can tonight, or if you'd like to have a chat in person on Friday or Saturday, more than happy to have a chat with people then. In terms of the transport and access matters that we've looked at, this is predominantly issues outside of the site red line, but we've been looking at how we can access the site in a safe and efficient manner, how many vehicles will be generated by the construction and operational phase of the solar farm, what the impact of those traffic flows could be, what we can do to reduce disruption and mitigate any traffic impacts, and how we will get the large electrical transformer um, that's required on the site, get it to the grid connection point that is being proposed. So we've looked at a number of comments that have come back in terms of feedback in relation to the transport and access matters, and we would try to address those wherever we can. In terms of feedback that we have received to date, we've had concerns raised about the traffic levels during the construction and what disruption that could be. We've had concerns about the impact of construction traffic on minor rural roads. Will construction traffic, for example, make junctions like Hammond's Corner dangerous, or indeed more dangerous, depending on your point of view? Will there be traffic chaos from this and potentially other schemes in the area? People have commented about local roads not being able to cope with the heavy goods vehicle traffic, and that construction traffic could potentially block local paths for years to come. Some of the kind of bits and pieces that we generally deal with in transport, we've had comments about traffic in heavy goods vehicles will thunder through local towns. Well, on this project, we're not allowing HGV traffic through town centres, and we will be controlling traffic associated with the construction phase through a robust construction traffic management plan, a CTMP, and that's already been published as part of our initial consultation. It's quite a detailed document there. We've had concerns about construction traffic wrecking local roads. We will put in place a wear and tear agreement that will show that any damage caused by construction traffic will be repaired at the developer's expense, not the taxpayer's expense, and that this will be secured through the development consent order, the DCO, so it's a legally enforceable requirement. And some people have expressed concerns that there will be significant traffic chaos for years to come. And when we've looked at the traffic generation, there is a defined peak within that construction traffic. It's generally about 2 to 3 months long. And outside of this peak, traffic levels will rise, hit the peak, and then they will fall significantly. So we have looked into that in some detail in the documents that are already provided for consultation. In terms of our approach to the assessment, we've looked at what traffic is involved in building a solar farm, such as that proposed at Southbrooks. We've looked at the traffic generation of cars and vans, of staff minibuses bringing staff to and from site, of our HGV movements, bringing in bulk material and the solar equipment itself, and for the very small number of abnormal indivisible loads that are required for the transformer equipment. All that has been examined to date. In terms of how we would access the site, we're looking at ensuring that HGV traffic does not pass through towns and villages such as Lydd for example. We're looking at using the trunk and A road class roads as much as possible. We are avoiding minor roads as far as possible. And in the figure there, the green arrows show the proposed construction routes for HGV traffic, with number 1 there coming through the existing wind farm, and for access points 2, 3, 4, and 5 being located on the B road on the Romney Road there. We are not bringing HGV traffic through Lydd or through New Romney or any of the settlements there. We are looking wherever possible to reuse existing access junctions and potentially upgrade them if we need them for construction access. And we'll be reusing access tracks such as the wind farm to avoid traffic impacts occurring on the public road network, and in particular the minor road network that exists across the marshes. We are proposing to use a staff travel plan to reduce staff movements as much as possible, and we'll be looking at busing construction staff in rather than having them all turn up in cars and clogging up the roads and streets in the area. When we've looked at the undertaking the assessment, we've had discussions with local road officers to date. I'm very grateful for the engagement that we've had so far. We've engaged with local residents and elected members from the various the councils in terms of Kent and East Sussex, and indeed the parish councils. We've collected accident statistics to review potential issues, and we've been reviewing public rights of way and cycle rights of way to map them out to inform the master plan development. In terms of the traffic assessment, we've deployed a number of traffic counters across the road network. These are automatic traffic counters. There's an example of one that shows the loops that count the traffic on the road at the top there. And we've got a good picture of vehicle movements around the study area. We've made an estimate of the number of construction vehicles from the amount of material required and the staff numbers necessary to build a site like South Brooks. And then we've reviewed the impact of the imposition of that peak construction traffic onto the study area to give us an idea of what likely impact the site would have. At the peak month of construction, and that is the peak, we would anticipate a total of 472 daily movements. That's 230 cars and 244 HGV trips, and that's two-way. So 115 cars and 122 HV trips inbound over a 12-hour day. And we've looked at devising mitigation measures to help reduce the impact of construction traffic during that peak period. In terms of the outcomes of the assessment today.
Sorry, mind if I just, there's just a question, which is what time of year did the vehicle count take place? It might be the traffic count.
Sure, the traffic counts were undertaken in the neutral month as per good practice. So that's a period where they're not influenced by school holidays, providing a false reading. The surveys themselves are detailed within the consultation documents. I want to say they were undertaken in March. I would have to double check the exact.
I will. We put up on the website, so I'll check what time of year they were taken while you're continuing with the presentation.
It is in the document, so forgive me, I can't quite recall the exact time they were taken, but they were undertaken in a period that complies with good practice in terms of traffic surveys on that there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. In terms of the highest traffic impact, that would be from the information we have today, occurring on the A259 near the access to the wind farm, an area we call South Brooks A, and that is a total traffic impact of 5.7%. The highest increase in HGV traffic is predicted to occur on the B2075 near the access for South Brooks C, which is shown on the figure there, and that's showing an increase in HGVs, and HGVs only, of 87.1% at the peak of construction traffic activity. In terms of looking at how we can reduce the impacts, we have provided a construction traffic management plan. That is in the pack of information that people are able to look at just now. That includes details of the staff travel plan, the timing of works to avoid school times, etc., because we don't want to be delaying people getting to and from school or indeed work. We have a signage strategy. We have a monitoring scheme for HGV traffic to ensure that it doesn't venture off the approved routes that we've suggested. We've got details of wheel washing, of road sweepers. We are wanting to create a transport management plan or transport management group should the site be determined, and that would involve engagement with local residents, elected members, how with the applicant looking at traffic measures. We will be providing further information should the site be consented in terms of regular updates to residents and businesses. I've already mentioned the wear and tear agreement, and we want to have a robust and responsive complaint system if people have any queries during the site works. We would also provide an abnormal load transport management plan that will detail police escorts, which are paid for in full by the developer, any road signage required for that, temporary roadworks that are associated with the large loads being delivered, and included in that would be contingency plans and an emergency services protocol to ensure that blue light emergency traffic is not held up by abnormal load movements. And then the third document that we will be providing is the on-site access management plan. That deals with public access within the site itself during construction. It will look at equestrian access, signage requirements, and any temporary diversions during construction works that are considered dangerous to all users. There's a bit more work to be undertaken, so we've got this preliminary. It's a word I can't say properly, so it's always a delight to have that in these presentations. But we are certainly listening very carefully to comments on the prelim assessment from yourselves, members of the public, from elected councillors, highway officers, and other stakeholders. The design itself is being further refined, which we are pretty confident will help reduce traffic numbers. We will be bolstering our mitigation proposals to make them more robust based upon feedback that we get both tonight and during the consultation events over the next month. We are further considering the grid connection in more detail and what traffic management will be necessary for that. And we are finishing off the abnormal load assessment to identify what, if any, street furniture modifications, signage, that kind of thing, will be required to get the transformer to the substation site. There are a number of upcoming webinars that may be of interest to people here tonight. So the next one is on landscape and visual. Be delighted to hear that won't be from me. And then there's the further topics of soils and ecology occurring on the dates provided there. But can I thank you very much for listening to me. More than happy to answer any questions that you may have on this, on transport and access matters. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Gordon. If you wouldn't mind sort of clicking off sharing your screen, and there's a few questions, so we'll take those in turn. Now, there's a few questions just in the webinar chat first, so I'll go to those and then go into the Q&A. I suppose comments. So about the A259. So comment on A25. The A259 is the only route to the local A&E at Ashford. This scheme will cause more traffic and cause potential incidents, which means you shouldn't use it. And also another question on the A259, but it's related to another question in the chat, so I might just take that one first, or if it's helpful to hear them together, I can also go through that one as well.
We could get both together if that's okay.
Yeah. So in the chat, and Kim's asked as well, so two elements to this about the A259 being the only route to local A&E at Ashford, but also important for tourism, and therefore there's question A, I suppose why is it being used, and why is it okay for it to be used, and B, how does seasonal variation get accounted for in that final transport assessment because of the sort of high number of summer tourist and recreational traffic in the local area? And that last one also asked about Jury's Gap Road as well.
Okay. Well, thank you, Kim. We'll no doubt be seeing you at the weekend, I think, if it's the same Kim. But in terms of the A259, the A259 is a trunk road. It is a strategic road operated on behalf of National Highways for strategically important traffic. So, in terms of its use for construction traffic, that is very much its function. It is operated by National Highways. We're engaged in discussions with them in terms of its use and the likely traffic impact there. In terms of the impact affecting emergency access use, we don't foresee any potential issues with that currently. We are looking at around about a 5 to 6% increase in traffic levels. Traffic volumes can vary on a daily basis by plus or minus 10%. We are below that threshold already, but we obviously will look and see what further measures we can perhaps include in terms of mitigation. Certainly for abnormal load deliveries, there is a blue light protocol for ensuring that fire, emergency vehicles, ambulance, police, Coast Guard, other emergency services can get past. We're not blocking any of the roads that would prevent access for blue light emergencies. And the volume of traffic that we've got, whilst it does sound a lot, when it's spread out over a 12-hour day, the hourly increase in traffic is not so significant in terms of EIA terms. And like I say, we are engaged with the road authorities in finding out a bit more in terms of their reaction to the traffic levels and likely impact and the need for any further mitigation on that. With regards to recreational traffic, we're obviously engaging with Kent and National Highways on how they would like that modelled. But the use of neutral month data does provide us a suitable way of looking at traffic impact, because if we have traffic data from the peak of summer, then our traffic impact would be less because your base is greater, and therefore we could be accused of underreporting our traffic impact. So there's swings and roundabouts on that side of it, but like I say, we are in discussions with the relevant road authorities on that, but we think we have a fair representative case there. Obviously, if there are specific road junctions that require further modelling, then that will come out of the engagement with the local authorities. There was one other point which, forgive me, I
No, it was just there was a question, the same question about the seasonal variation, but also in regards to
yeah.
Jury Gap Road.
In terms of Jury's Gap Road, we are not providing any significant HGV traffic jam Jury's Gap Road. There may be some cabling traffic, but the volume of traffic associated with that is quite low. But we're waiting for further information on the design before we can quantify the traffic movements associated with cabling. There may be some staff movements on Jury's Gap Road, but again, the staff moving to and from the site will be undertaken through a staff travel plan. We were looking at busing people in as much as humanly possible. And in addition, staff movements will be generally outside network peak. So there'll be people arriving on site before 7 and leaving after 7 in the evening. So we would be avoiding the majority of network peak areas, certainly on those roads and the other roads within the study area.
Thank you.
I hope that's helpful.
That's great. There's a few questions about wear and tear agreement. So for just the purposes of recording, I will read out any all of them, just so you're confident that your question has been answered and it's shown for the purpose of the recording. But Gordon, and there might be an element of people asking the same things because I think it's come up in a few different ways. So Colin asks, will you repair roads as damage occurs? It's unreasonable to wait until construction is finished, as that would mean residents would have to live with damaged roads for a protracted period of time. Kim asks, for the wear and tear agreement, what is the process for determining / proving if road damage is due to the construction, and who is the arbiter of that? Got an anonymous question. For the road wear and tear agreement, how is the existing state of the roads documented so that any adverse impacts can be attributed to the solar farm traffic? And I've got, I think I saw another one. Oh yes, another anonymous attendee. Who will be in charge of making sure that the roads are repaired to ensure local businesses will not be affected by HGVs using minor country roads? Won't there be a conflict of interest? And how does the general public get in touch with whoever is responsible for the overseeing of this? I think those were the 4 I found. I'll just check there's not any more. Yeah, that was all the ones on the wear and tear agreement.
Okay. So the wear and tear agreement is a legal requirement. It's delivered under the Construction Traffic Management Plan, which itself is a schedule of the development consent order. So the applicant, if it was approved, is legally required to follow the CTMP, and the wear and tear agreement is embedded within that document. In terms of how it works, a pre-commencement survey would be undertaken to review the state of the roads used for construction access prior to any construction activities working on site. That would be attended by the local road manager, typically, so in this case from Kent County Council, but also from East Sussex County Council and National Highways as the relevant highway authorities, and a full survey review of the road net would be undertaken. Typically, this is a visual survey to review defects not only in the road surface, but road markings, road signage, road drainage, and the verges as well. So basically a complete coverage and a detailed review of the adopted highway boundary would be undertaken. Any defects that are noted, so for example, potholing, lateral cracking along the road, would be documented, photographed, measured, and its current state agreed with the local road officers in attendance during the survey. Then that is written up into a report that is all parties then agree that that is a fair condition of the road network before activities start. During construction, interim surveys will be undertaken. So the comment about you can't afford to wait for the construction project to be complete before works are done. That's the reason we'd be doing interim surveys. The frequency of that would be agreed with the road authorities, but our preference at the very start is to do them monthly or bi-monthly to ensure that we've got an accurate condition and that any defects that do occur as a result of construction activities are dealt with quickly and efficiently. On other projects that we've been involved in of similar nature, we have an agreement that with the local authorities, and obviously it's at their discretion for this project, but if a defect did occur, the contractor could go out within a set period of, say, 48 hours and attend to that repair immediately. So we don't have to wait for the council's approved contractors to come in, do the repair. We can schedule things quickly and efficiently should the councils allow the applicant that ability there. So there would be interim reviews and interim repairs undertaken. At the end of the project, there would be a full dilapidation survey undertaken, similar to the original ones and the interim ones, and where significant defects, or in fact any defects, are observed, a schedule of repairs would be then set out. There would be the opportunity then for the applicant and the roads authority to go through those, agree which would be, well, those are caused by the construction traffic, and then the applicant is on the hook for undertaking that final batch of repairs, should there be any. In terms of final arbitration, if there is a bit of a disagreement, there is an independent adjudicator appointed through the wear and tear agreement. That is generally either the president of the Institution of Civil Engineers or the Institution of Highways and Transport, but an independent person who can then adjudicate fairly in favour of either the council or indeed the applicant. So they're entirely independent of that process to make sure that it's fair for all parties there. The existing state of the road is done in quite amount of detail. If we need to undertake, particularly on the views of perhaps some of the local authorities, given some of the nature of the roads, we may even look at doing some GPR surveys of the road to identify any underlying faults that may not be wholly visible to the naked eye. That's also being considered. What was the last point? So I'm trying to read my handwriting and I can't quite read it because I wrote it in a hurry. Apologies, but yes, the insurance
It's
works were undertaken
sorry. Yeah,
and secured under the DCO because there's a legal requirement for the applicant to undertake the works to make good any repairs that they are or their contractors are responsible for. So it's a legal obligation. So that's secured in that. Also, there's a contractual obligation on the contractors to undertake the works as well. So there's a kind of double lock there already. So the taxpayer would not be on the hook for any repairs caused by construction or required by construction traffic.
Thank you. Did you touch on how does the general public get in touch with
Oh,
whoever is
sorry,
responsible?
yes. So there'll be two ways to do that. Well, three ways. First of all, we're proposing a transport group. That would be one conduit to get directly to the applicant. There'll be a range of mechanisms outlined in the CTMP document that include there will be a published phone line, help email. There will be a community liaison officer who will be dealing with that in the CTMP, and this is born from experience from other projects. When people make a comment, sometimes they don't hear back what the outcome was. So we have a clear communication strategy with a guaranteed time for a response to come back to people. And there is that feedback loop because there's no point complaining, not hearing about it because you think, well, nothing's been done, but actually something could have been actioned. So there is that. The traffic management group will include parish councils and local elected members. So there's a separate way there to raise concerns and issues. And there was a third one which currently eludes my memory just now, but I'm more than happy to have a chat with anyone about it on Friday and Saturday, unless I remember the next half an hour.
Okay, thank you. Lovely. So next one, Alan Reed says, please expand on the staff travel plan. Are you planning to have workforce based locally in a workplace accommodation site and then bused to the site to work?
Yes, so the staff travel plan is currently drafted. There is a copy of it within the construction traffic management plan document, so you can have a look there. But the current plan is to what we don't want to do is create acres of car parking space on the soil farm, because it's slightly hypocritical if the applicant is looking at building sustainable power, but then everyone drives to site. So that is it's a false economy there. So we would be looking at bringing people in by bus to the site, either from local areas where they would be staying, or from slightly further afield, or indeed from train stations at Ashford and other areas, potentially even Rye. But having transport hubs that bring people in, we don't want staff to turn up to site and everyone bringing a car to site, because that won't be permitted, it won't be allowed. And to give some reassurance, the staff travel plan is quite tough. It has particular requirements in terms of modal share for people travelling to site. That is also part of the construction traffic management plan. It is a legal requirement for the contractor and for the applicant to follow, and the contractors will be advised that they can't just rock up on site in individual cars. They have to abide by it. That's a contractual requirement for working on the site. There's a legal requirement, and there's also a sustainable requirement from them there. So there's three ways that we can ensure that people will be travelling sustainably to build and maintain this site.
Two sort of related ones, I'll take those together. So Adrian asks, has the traffic modelling considered cumulative impacts, e.g. from the adjoining South Kent Energy Park? And Kim also says, I would think that with South Kent also presumably using the A259, the cumulative impact must also be factored in, especially if there is an overlap in build. Will this be the case?
Yes, so a cumulative impact review will be undertaken. Currently, it hasn't been done just now, simply because we're waiting to see further information. And I think South Kent only published recent information on their expected updated construction program today, I think. So
Yeah.
we are, was it? Yeah. Okay. So we will be undertaking that. That will be in the final document. Just now we've provided it. It would be reasonably meaningless because we are waiting to hear from what other schemes are doing. But please be assured, it is a requirement of the EIA regulations. It is a requirement of the transport assessment guidelines. It is being done, but we need to get further information from the neighbours to find out exactly what their proposals are, so that we can accurately model that and advise people of the potential impacts. But also importantly, we can get the mitigation measures that are appropriate for that level of cumulative traffic, should it coincide with our construction program. But yes, it will be done.
Thank you. One from, I think two from Alan. I'll take them both together because I think they might be a bit related. So Alan says, if the battery storage is sited on parcel C, access is only shown from Lyd Road. Do you have a second emergency access route? And then sort of a follow-up question, what is the access area shown to north of parcel C from Mountfield Road, sorry. Assume this is not for construction traffic.
So in terms of the battery site, um, the access point is designed to allow for full emergency access in accordance with the fire chief's guidance. We do have proposals to look at providing emergency separate access, which is going up to Mountfield Road, but that would only be for fire tender access, and that has been modelled to look at in the unlikely event of a fire, for fire tender access to come through Mountfield Road, and then it's in the industrial estate, and then linking into the site there. So that has been considered today, yes. And engagement with the fire service is ongoing as well.
Great. I was going to go over to the webinar chat because I think some people have been waiting a little bit of time for those. Thank you for your patience. Maybe something that we need to take away and send to the noise team. So Andrew asks, what will the noise impact be on local residents over the 12-hour day of construction? From construction vehicles, I presume.
On that one, that's been covered by the noise assessment team. They have the traffic data. They've converted that to noise, but I'm afraid that's outside my area of expertise, so I would have to defer to them. Sorry.
That information might be in the noise chapter of the preliminary environmental information.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of a signpost. Again, I think Andrew sort of raised the point of the summer tourism periods again, and the need to make sure that the impact is assessed against those busier periods, which I think we've covered. And then lastly, regarding the site south of Lyd near Dungeness, I think that's South Brooks E, the traffic route was not identified on your image. What is the proposed route?
So that is, I'm assuming the area next to Denmarsh Road, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of that, that area is not proposed to be for development. That is for biodiversity enhancements. The level of traffic associated with that is very low. We're waiting for further information from the design team exactly what that is, but there is potential that that could cross from South Brooks D, ABCD, yeah, from another part of the site with very minimal um, access on Denmarsh Road, if indeed any. But we're waiting to find out a bit more on the design there. But there are no solar arrays, tables, or BES units or anything like that involved. It would be for biodiversity enhancement, and I believe it links into the local or would be of benefit to the um, bird reserve located to the southwest, from memory.
Thank you. Kylie's asked, you might be worth getting the map back up for this. So Kylie says, on the map of the roads, what was the road on the left-hand side? I can't remember to which site it was, but that appeared to be either Jury's Gap, but a bit more inland. I was comparing it to the main Google map and couldn't match it.
Right. If you bear with me. Is it that? Is it that image? Oh, hang on. Helps if I hit share, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Is it so? Jury's Gap Road is here, and there's Camber Sands.
Yeah.
So sorry, could you remind me the question?
Yeah, so now I've got it up. It might make sense. So on the since we were sort of looking at it, so on the map of the roads, what was the road on the left-hand side? Oh, it's sorry. Kylie says it's the road where it says one.
Oh,
Oh, so
one. All right.
right.
So
Yeah.
that is the that's the access tracks that the wind farm uses. So that's Little Chain Wind Farm in here. These are all private access tracks, so it's not a public road. So the A25259 is running along the top here. This is the access into through Little Chain that they use for their construction access, and then that would extend into Southbrook, what's called Southbrooks A, which is this area here.
Thank you, Kylie, and thanks for clarifying that. Was
Yeah,
um,
I'll
and
stop
then
sharing. Yeah.
just a couple more comments from Kylie, just in the part of that message. So I think just a general to note that the traffic to and from Canberra in summertime gets crazy backed up, and the country roads aren't appropriate for such heavy traffic.
Yes, agreed, and that's why we're not using the local road network. We're staying on the A259 as much as possible, and the B road. We don't want to bring construction traffic into the side roads.
Thank you. And Andrew asks, how will the traffic noise impact on the Triple SI be mitigated in this area, including for nesting birds? Will this be assessed by the Environment Agency? Again, that's probably one to look at in the noise assessment and also in the ecology assessment. There's quite a lot of overlap with some of these topics, but they do all speak to each other, and the baseline data is shared to factor into to things like noise and the ecology surveys and assessments. The Environment Agency have all of that data as part of the preliminary environmental information that we've sent them, and we're also working with them, to identify any concerns that they have, but possibly one to look at in the ecology or biodiversity part of the preliminary environmental information. And it might also overlap with the noise assessment there as well.
And if it's of assistance on those, if you want to speak to somebody on that, the noise team, I believe, will be available for questions on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at the exhibitions.
We'll have we have our environmental impact assessment coordinator who will be able to answer noise questions, and we'll be able to take those away. So if he can't answer some of those more technical details. Brilliant. So last one on sort of the webinar chat before we go back to the Q&A. So Andrew says, I've read there are unmapped drainage routes all over the marsh, that have historically prevented flooding? How will the project mitigate damage across the land area with heavy vehicles? How will damage even be identified before flooding may occur? We might have the answer for you from our previous webinar on hydrology regarding sort of those drainage impacts and making sure that there's not any sort of flooding off site, and those drainage systems are identified and protected where possible. I don't know, Gordon, if there's anything in the construction traffic management plan about the movements within the site.
Generally, the CTMP deals with traffic external to the site. There are other documents that cover the site itself. But in terms of the access track designs, they will be designed to the appropriate standard. There's obviously quite a bit of site investigation work that's gone into that. The first part of the access track network coming from the A259 has already been successfully used for a Little Chain wind farm. The loads associated with that are of a greater weight than what we are proposing, because the wind turbine components axle loading is higher than anything required for the solar farm, with the possible exception of the transformer. But the design envelope for that vehicle is currently being clarified just now.
Thanks, Andrew. I've got a question here from Easterling. Where will the water come from for wheel washing, and how would it be disposed of?
So the water for wheel washing may be tankered in. I think it's highly unlikely it will be extracted from site, so it's likely to be tankered in. In terms of its disposal, it is potentially contaminated with mud, dust, road film. So it's something that is dealt with at a licensed facility off-site. I can't tell you exactly which one it would be, but it's a potential contaminant and is dealt with at a licensed processing facility.
Thank you. Alan says, how do you deal with any damage to any adjacent properties that may be caused by excessive traffic?
In terms of wear and tear agreements, if there is a high risk property, then that would be covered, and we've undertaken similar kind of surveys of buildings for wind farm projects we've been involved in. In terms of the access routes that we're looking at on the A road and the B road, we're not aware of any properties at risk, but if there's a particular property that you are concerned about, please let myself or Rebecca know. I'm more than happy to have a more detailed chat about individual properties, but perhaps on a one-to-one, because that might be more appropriate that way.
You. Question from Kim. So table 10.4 in the preliminary environmental information shows zero traffic assigned to the Lyd Airport Link road at peak construction. If parcel D is accessed via that road, why does it show no construction traffic? Has parcel D been excluded from the peak month calculation? And if so, why?
No, if you bear with me, I just need to get that document up. I mean, not all construction activity will happen at every single section at every time, but if you want, Kim. Sorry, it's going to take me just my computer has decided that it's going to have a moment just now. Oh no, hang on. Just find table 10.4.
So page 10, if it helps.
So at that point in time, at the peak of construction traffic, there is no traffic going down that section there, because the way the construction is phased, if you go to the transport assessment, there's further detail across the whole gambit of documents. But at that point, there is no construction traffic using that section of road on the indicative construction program to date. However, um, as the program is being refined and the site design is being refined, that will be reviewed in further detail, and there may be during the peak construction traffic for some traffic using that link road there, but it does serve a smaller part of the site.
Thank you. Kim says, when will the outline right-of-way access strategy document be complete and shared? Particularly curious as to what temporary disruption means to public rights-of-way, considering 60 years for the solar project is also considered temporary.
Yeah, so the outline rights of way plan is currently being prepared. It wasn't, it's a variety of different disciplines feeding into that. It's not one we're leading personally, but that document is being prepared. You can't really prepare it until the site design has been frozen. Once that has been frozen, the document will be finalized and put into the public domain at the application. But if there are any particular rights of way or paths that you're concerned about, please do raise them at the consultation event with the master planning team. I'm sure they'd be delighted to hear from any particular concerns and how these can be addressed if the site was to be consented. And they will be available Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Kim says the consultation booklet states working hours of 7 till 7 Monday to Friday and 7 to 12 on Saturdays. It also mentions that there would be a local diary of events. Who manages the local events diary? How is compliance with it enforced contractually? And what recourse do residents have if HGVs are found using unauthorised routes or outside of agreed operating hours?
Okay, so the construction hours are dealt with again in the construction traffic management plan, as with vehicle routing. So the um, the, uh, the hours part of it's also controlled in the construction environment management plan and several other documents that are part of the development consent order and therefore legally enforceable. It's also a planning matter in terms of enforceability. If vehicles are found to be using a route that is barred to construction traffic, and the CTMP has a number of those routes already detailed within them, if they're found using that, that is a breach of A, the contract, and B, a breach of the CTMP, and those that are undertaking such actions will be subject to disciplinary matters from the applicant that may involve their removal from site. The applicant takes these matters quite seriously because there's a legal requirement to follow the CTMP, and those that don't will be dealt with through disciplinary process, like I say, that will include and may include exclusion from site and being removed from the contract. In terms of the event diary, there is going to be a traffic management or a traffic liaison officer appointed. They would be responsible for the operation of the construction traffic management plan. They would be the primary link between the applicant and residents' comments on transport matters, and they would be responsible for the diary of events, keeping that up to date, and obviously would welcome any dates and events that local groups and bodies have, and would keep that populated. Again, that's a requirement of the CTMP.
Thank you. We've got a question from Eastling saying, where is the fire report on the website? I'm not sure what that might refer to. If you wouldn't mind providing a bit more of a direction on what that fire report might be, we can maybe come back to that one at the end.
Yeah.
This is from Sue Berry. Will there be a requirement for the local authority or highways authority to make good or strengthen existing roads ready for construction vehicles?
No. No, the applicant's on the hook for all road improvements.
Thank you. Everyone for Easterling. I'm looking at construction entrances map, and on site C, there is a red box marked primary construction compound. Is this a building?
No, a compound is generally of an area, temporary hard stand area where there would be potentially porta cabins, not necessarily all the time, but an area where vehicles would pick up loads, distribute loads across the site, where the security officers would generally be partially located, and an area for material storage. But it's not a permanent building like that, no.
Thank you. And Alan asks, you have two areas designated as battery storage. Are you planning to use both? At this stage, we have those two options and we are consulting on using one or both of those areas. So that will the feedback we get and feedback we get from residents, environmental stakeholders, will feed into that decision, as well as the final design of the project. Is also quite an important consideration for whether one or two substations and areas of battery storage are taken forward. I'll just give it a minute because I'm conscious we asked for clarification of one, though maybe it's the case that that was sort of picked up in part in an answer to another question. I did go and have a look on the website, and the traffic count surveys took place from the 26th of February for 2 weeks, I believe.
Yeah.
So that was an answer to a question we took from Easterling at the beginning of the webinar. To close that one off, we'll just give it a couple more minutes in case anyone's typing anything in, and then we will close the webinar. So the recording will be online, and as well as the slides and a summary of this Q&A discussion. Just give it a minute or more. There we go. So Easting says the fire report Gordon referred to in response to issues relating to a fire on site entrance.
So there's not actually a fire. So I don't think did I say fire report, but there is a fire access review that's being undertaken. There are drawings prepared. Because we're in discussions with the fire and rescue authority just now. There's no firm or fixed document as yet, but further details of the fire and emergency requirements for the site will form part of the application. I'm pretty certain on that, and there's something to be detailed in the access documents at the final submission there. So I thought you were going to refer to the plume assessments and that side of it, which is ongoing as well. But there are fire experts coming to the consultation.
We've got some battery safety experts coming on Friday and Saturday, who will be able to talk a bit more about the battery element of the scheme and all the measures that are in place to make sure that that's safe. And I appreciate actually that the battery safety webinar wasn't on the list of remaining webinars that was on the presentation. Apologies for that. That's on me. The battery safety webinar will also be taking place on the 18th of June, 6 till 7 p.m. as well. Okay. That takes us to 1856, and I haven't got any more questions. So I will just close, and if there's any more, we can take them before we go. Thank you everyone for your time today. Those will all be, as I've said, the recording, the slides, Q&A will be available on the website shortly. And just say thank you for your time again, and have a good rest of your evening. And hopefully see some of you at the public events we're holding in the local area. We are at Lyd on Thursday, we are in Greatstone on Friday, and we are at New Romney on Saturday. Brilliant. No more questions, so I will say thank you again, and have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Goodbye.